Hey everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Assassin's Creed Shadows today and Ubisoft and how they seem to be lying about the player sentiment regarding the game. So, let's get to music and we'll get right into it. So a new player sentiment analysis contradicts Ubisoft's claim that Assassin's Creed Shadows has positive community sentiment, as they say. During the company's first quarter 2025 sales conference call in July, an investor from HSBC asked about how pre-orders for both Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows compared to previous Ubisoft releases. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot responded, "We don't disclose nor comment on pre-orders usually." Maybe they do and they're good. What we can say, what we've been observing and measuring, is that our two big titles actually are among the most awaited games of the industry, and they enjoy very strong positive community sentiment overall. I'll tell you, when I look at a post on X regarding, when Ubisoft posts something or Assassin's Creed does or whatever, there's a ton of backlash on that. And I get it, it's weighted towards the things I like and the people I follow and stuff like that. But there's a ton. When I go to videos like trailers and all that and updates, tons and tons of backlash coming at these guys. So I wouldn't, I'm guessing it's not very positive. So Player XP's community sentiment report for Assassin's Creed Shadows disputes this claim. I guess this is a company that analyzes interactions on social media is what I'm guessing. So it says, breaking down player sentiment by social media platform, it has a -14 rating on YouTube, where the majority of interactions come from a -7 rating on X, a +2 rating on TikTok, figures, and a -55 rating on Facebook, albeit it only factored in 105 interactions, so not a lot on there. But like YouTube, -14. So I guess what it does is, this is 5%. So most of the interactions came from YouTube, 88% just about, with just under 8% on X, and then about 5% on TikTok, and just a fragment on Facebook. So that can really be tossed out right there. But they say their data sources overview says, our aim is to be transparent about how we collect and analyze data. For this report, Player XP analyzed 129,833 or 633 interactions from various platforms to gauge player sentiment accurately. The chart to the right displays the data sources. They've been broken down as sentiment for each social media platform: YouTube, Facebook, yada yada. Next page, we will dive deeper into the data. All right, so this is kind of cool. I never knew this existed before. This is something I kind of want to look into for the future. I guess it's playerxp.io. I wonder if they do this for all games or if it's just high-profile games and all that. It's going to be kind of neat to see what it is. This is something I definitely want to look into more. But furthermore, the analysis detailed many of the biggest talking points and keywords have negative sentiment, including Japan, Ubisoft, Yusuke, and history. Player XP noted these all have significant negative sentiment associated, with the historical element being the most negative at -45. This has been driven by players expressing concerns about historical accuracy and cultural depiction. Now we're going to do a full stop right there, because the argument's going to be, well, Assassin's Creed was always fictional. It was always just set against the backdrop of history. It was always this. And yeah, I get it. Okay? We fought Medusa in Origins, We played as Odin himself. Okay, in Valhalla. But this is a different story here. This is them stating that Yusuke was a samurai when he never was. He was a retainer at best. He was a entertainer for Nobunaga. And he worked for him. And that was it, right? So this whole thing is built on Thomas Lockley's book about the Black Samurai or the African Samurai, whatever it's called. This fictional account that he made some assumptions to come up with this story and this rewriting of history to create this fictional character out of a man that really existed, when it was just all built upon a lie, and which is actually stupid. But you don't go play Assassin's Creed to reenact history and see everything represented perfectly as historical. But what you don't want, and what the biggest sentiment I think is that you're playing as a black samurai when he was never a samurai in a game set in feudal Japan, when you should be playing as just a heroic, regular old Japanese samurai. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It added, additionally, the character Yasuke has received a negative sentiment score of -17 from the player community, aligning with the themes players have highlighted inaccuracies related to his character. That's what we were just talking about there. It is worth noting that Ubisoft player community is highly engaged, with a record number of interactions in a short date range, and talking points around excitement of the new launch drove positive sentiment plus 34. Player XP shared. So, boom, the most popular talking points. So these all have significant negative sentiment with the historical element. Okay, so here we go. So interactions, 1444. Looks like 10% were positive. Sentiments, what, negative 38 or whatever, negative 19, negative 17, negative 45. Ooh, okay. And then overall a positive of 1. Assassin's Creed AC. Okay. And let's look at a couple player quotes here. We cannot escape a fabricated story set in a fantasy setting that is different from Japan and mixes Asia being advertised as a faithful historical fact. See, and that's one of the things that they stated when they presented, I think it was the original trailer for this, is how they like to build on historical fact and all that other stuff. And they presented this as a factual character and a factual story and all that. And then here we go, player quote on Twitter. Everyone knows that AC is historical fiction. It's the disrespect to and misrepresentation of Japanese culture that has always been the issue. And that's just what I stated before. These are the problems, right? And then let's throw on top of it, and I wonder if they address all this, the thieving of the flag design, the outright theft of that flag design that Ubisoft did, where they're using it as an in-game asset, and they're not changing it even after it's been brought up, unless that's changed at this point. The last I saw, they are sticking to their guns, and they are keeping it. They're not changing it. They're not, that's so disrespectful. And then we throw on top of that, there's design inaccuracies in the architecture and all that. And I think some of the lettering in some situations was Chinese and not Japanese. And I get it, errors are going to happen and all that, right? It would be good to have some real Japanese historians, not guys like Thomas Lockley or the lady that studied gay relationships between monks and whatever, that young boys that they hired on for this abomination of a game. Get real historians on there, people that actually studied Japan, the history of Japan, the language, how it was written, the design, the architecture, what people wore, their clothing, what the garb of the samurai was on a normal day versus going into battle or going, before and to something, the formal wear or whatever you want to talk about. Absolutely crazy. Let's talk about a little bit more here. Later in the report, Player XP detailed that one of the primary areas of negative sentiment emerged around the monetization category. Notably, the monetization topic is a recurring source of dissatisfaction, as seen in the community's reaction to both Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. And this is huge. The player community has voiced frustrations about Ubisoft's perceived prioritization of monetized strategies over player experience, a sentiment that is influencing their reception of Assassin's Creed Shadows. The consistent negative feedback regarding monetization strategies suggests that players feel unheard, affecting their overall trust in Ubisoft. Let me take a look at the charts here. This is Shadows and this is Outlaws. And the numbers I can't see them very good, but the numbers are in the red all the way down on all of these. And that's a big factor with Ubisoft. These guys are just absolute whores when it comes to money. And it's frustrating, You're releasing a game that is $70 baseline, right? $140, I believe, both of these games, if you get the season pass and all that. And it unlocks a day one mission that's available from launch, but is locked behind that money wall, okay? So it's 130 or 140 bucks. It's an extra $60 to $70 for all that. That's crazy what they're charging. Now, that's bad enough, but you know, I can see having a season pass and all that. Single player games will do that often. But it kind of feels like at times these companies are taking advantage of us and giving us unfinished games. You know, I think it was, I forget which one it was. But I've heard of games locking real endings behind DLC, which is terrible. I'm trying to remember the one I played that they did that with. It was the, the sci-fi game with Shepard and all that. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm sorry. Getting old and my brain is going a million directions all the time. But, yeah, these, you know, locking these endings behind monetization is terrible. But one thing that Ubisoft does that's really gross is they're going to do stuff like unlock all the treasure locations on the map for $5. Unlock all the armor locations on the map for $5. Unlock this on the map for $5 or $10 or $15, whatever. And then all of a sudden, well, here's a new outfit. Here's the George Floyd skin collection where you can dress as George Floyd and, you know, use speedballs as a weapon and stuff like that. Or here's the, you know, and all these different skin sets and, you know, skins for your, if they still have the eagle or the falcon or whatever, the hawk, if they still have that in the game, they're going to have skins for that. There's probably a robot that follows you around in Star Wars Outlaws, so they're going to have skins for that. New skins for your character, new hairdos and tattoos, and I mean, they just went overboard, especially with Valhalla. Valhalla was insane. I always wanted to go in and just see, like, price it all out just to see how much everything would cost out of curiosity for that game if you bought every single little bit of monetization, every bit of skin and all that. It would be out of this world what it would cost. Monetization is a very frustrating thing in modern gaming, especially in a single player game. There's really no reason to do this, right? Because I understand when you're playing a multiplayer game, you're playing Fortnite, and you want to look like a character that you love from another franchise and represent that character or whatever. Cool. You know, that's fine. You want that badass new skin for the gun or whatever. Cool. You know, it's kind of like a bragging point, right? I get it. I get the appeal of it. But for single player, it's kind of like, well, why? It's not like you're showing it off to anybody other than when you play. You know, and even then, it's just, you know, I don't get it. And to make it worse with Ubisoft is, Ubisoft wants you to be comfortable not owning your games now. So why do they even cost a penny? You know what I mean? If Ubisoft doesn't want us to own games, they should just do their Ubisoft Connect. I think that's what it's called, their service, their monthly service for whatever it is a month. And just make you join that to play their games. And play their games as long as you want on there. And when you are done with Ubisoft Connect, you stop paying. You know, you're not going to own the game in the long run anyway. Why not just use that as a service? Because they know people won't do it. You know, that's what they do. They know that. Oh, it's terrible. It's highly likely that Ubisoft already knows that player sentiment around the game is negative, as Nick Dempsey from Barclays specifically asked Guillemot during an investor's call, when you talk about AC Shadows being the most ambitious, are you hoping for it to be the best-selling Assassin's Creed game? And Guillemot responded, at this time, we can say that AC to be among the high sellers of the company so far. Clearly, that means Ubisoft does not expect it to be the best-selling Assassin's Creed game to date. Eurogame reported in February 2022 that Valhalla, the game 2 games prior to this one, earned more than $1 billion in revenue by itself. Now, Mirage came since Valhalla. Mirage was a much smaller scale game than Valhalla. Valhalla, Origins, and Odyssey are the bigger open world type games for Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed franchise. And my understanding is Shadows is going to fall into that category rather than the smaller, more compact games that only take a lot less hours to play. But what do you think about this report claiming that Assassin's Creed Shadows has negative player sentiment in contradiction to Ubisoft's claims? And honestly, do you think this game is going to be that well received when it comes out? And again, I always admit this, you know, it's going to sell because of the name alone. Name recognition alone is going to sell. The normies that like to play and don't participate in any of this culture war nonsense, they're gonna buy it too, and they're gonna play it. My goal is to teach people about what's going on and to show them just how bad this industry can be sometimes and who the bad players are. Whether it's these DEI companies like Sweet Baby Inc. coming in and destroying games for, extorting money from developers and then destroying their game and any credibility they have, and, making these games DOA, especially for these little developers. They can't afford to lose that. You go to an indie development team and they've been working on a game and it's their only game, their only IP, and then you hire these guys and they say, hey, $7 million, we'll advise you, we'll help you out and all that. You pay them the $7 million, they give you some horrible advice and walk away with $7 million in their pockets. You release your game and then people realize what a garbage game it is because of their suggestions and they don't buy it. Ouch. They have no accountability, right? They're gone. They pocketed their money. They left. They're working with the next sucker down the road. So, these are things we talk about here. So, in any case, leave a like on the video down below if you agree with me. If not, then leave a dislike on it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and I always appreciate your comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.